My name is Esther and you're welcome to my channel. If this is your first time, kindly consider subscribing. I have a playlist of fashion and craft, so if these are things of interest to you, kindly subscribe and check out this playlist. So recently I received this picture from my client, and so I made this final outfit and I'm going to show you the process on how I made it. So keep on watching so you can see how I made it. So I started by folding my fabric, and from the folded side I measured 1 inch in for my shoulder line. So I like to take all my vertical measurements first, and so this is what I'm going to do. Measure the shoulder line first, so that's 1 inch down. So also from the edge of the fabric I'll measure the bust point. So the measurements I'm working with has bust points of 9 inches. So I also like to measure on 2 points so I can eventually have a straight line. So the next I'm measuring will be my waistline. My waistline is 15.5. So the bust line actually is 10 inches, and so my half waist measurement is 15.5. So measure everything and roll out like that. So on my shoulder line now, I'll take my horizontal measurement, which is my shoulder divided by 2. I'll mark that out. On the bust point as well, I'll measure my shoulder divided by 2. So connect these two sides together. So connect the shoulder line, connect it to the bust line on my point that I've measured, which is my shoulder divided by 2. Now I'm going to measure out the neck. So for the neck, I'm using 4.5 inches and go in by 4 inches as well. So draw out a square with that measurement, and on the diagonal go up by 1.5 inch. So I'll roll a curved line from the edge of my neck to the edge of the center fold. If you have a pattern ruler you can use it, but since I don't have, I just use my hand to sketch. So next I'll be drawing out the shoulder slope, which is from the edge of the neck to the edge of the shoulder line. So that is what I have there. So from that 1 inch point downwards, my bust line, I have 9 inches left because I've taken out 1 inch. So 9 inch divided by 2 now is 4.5. So on that 4.5 inch line, I'll do a marking, and on that point I'll come in by 1 inch to form my shoulder curve, which is my armhole curve. So on my bust line, I'll measure my bust divided by 4, mark that point out, and add my sewing allowance. So for this, I'm working with a sewing allowance of 1.5 inch. So from the edge of the shoulder through that midpoint of the armhole, I'll draw a curved line as well to the edge of my sewing allowance on the bust. So like I said, if you have a bust ruler you can use that, but since I don't have that, I've used my end. So for the waist now, my waist divided by 4, I'll mark that point out, then add 1 inch for that allowance and 1.5 inch for my sewing allowance. So connect that to the bust line, and I have my front pattern measured out. So I'll cut out all of these, and this is my front pattern, and this is the top part of my front pattern. So I'll use this front pattern to measure out the back. So for the back, I ruled a straight line of 2 inches from the folded line. So I'll place my front pattern on that line, and the back will be 2 inches higher than the front. So I've gone up by 2 inches. So with a free hand, I also draw a curved neckline for the back, just as you have seen me do. And on the waist, for the shoulder, for the waist darts at the back, I like to go in by ½ inch from that point I marked. So go in by ½ inch that way, and from that ½ inch point, I'll draw a straight line to connect with the neck, neckline at the back. So the purpose of this is so that you don't have bumps at the back of your outfit. You want it to lay flat on the back slope. So from there, I now measured my 1 inch zip allowance. So I followed that slanted line to draw out the zip allowance. So now I'm going to return this front pattern and place it on the original 2 inches line that I ruled out before to cut out the back pattern. So place it on the original position it was, not on the new half inch that you took in. So that half inch we took in at the center, will now add it on the side, which is what I've done, and I connected it with the armhole side. So having done that, now we would also correct the armhole for the back. We took in 1 inch in the front, so that 1 inch we return it at the back and draw our armhole for the back. So the neck points, the shoulder points rather, will start at the same place, and the bust line will end at the same place, but that armhole center will be extended just like I've done here. So cut out the pattern, and we have the top part of our back pattern as well. Then slash on that straight zip line, on the slanted zip line that we have measured. So I'll cut out the same patterns on my lining fabric, which is what I've done here. So for the back, you cut out the same pattern on your lining. The front, do that as well. Don't forget that our front is on center fold. Now we need to mark out the dart, and for the back, sorry, front rather, I measured bust points, bust to bust divided by 2. In this case was 4.5, so that's the point I have marked there. Then from my shoulder line, I measured the bust points and went down by 1 inch to create that connection right there. So now on this line that we have, I'm going to take ½ inch on both sides because I use 1 inch for my dart allowance. If you have used more than 1 inch, which is fine, just divide that by 2 and take that measurement on both sides of your ruled line. So this is what our dart will be. I'll replicate this on the other side of the fabric as well, because the dart will be on the 2 bust lines. So for the back, we'll start from the original line and measure the same thing that we did in the front. That is your bust point divided by 2. Mark that out. Then from your shoulder, your neckline, you come down by 9 inches. So that 9 inches line, we will connect it with that line that we have ruled from the side. Also take ½ inch on both sides. So rule a triangle that way, and we have our dart for the back. So this I'll do on the other side of the back as well, and on the lining. So for all the processes I'm doing on the main fabric, I'm also doing them on the inner fabric as well. So we start now to sew by taking in our dart. You can see I've replicated the darts. So I'll start with one side, just fold on the center line and stitch on the diagonal line that you have ruled out. So do that for one side and do that for the other side as well, which I have done here. So I'll just do the same on the second side as well. So we have that done for the 2 sides of the front. I will do that on the inner fabric as well, which I have done here. And so with that, we will now connect the front and the main fabric and the outer fabric together on the neckline. So stitch the necklines together, right side to right side, though the inner fabric does not have any right side. And I will slash the neckline open a bit, just notch them on different points so you can have a flat neckline. And with that, I open up the neckline and do an inner stitch like that on the inner fabric. Just do a top stitch so that you can see how laid my neckline is. That's the purpose of the notch and the top stitch. So for the back as well, I've held in the darts just like I did in the front. But for the back now, I'll measure 1 inch from the side because that is the zip opening that we're going to have. And from that 1 inch point, I would stitch the necklines together and ensure that the 1 inch point is left open. So I also notch that and do a top stitch on the neckline. So the back is nicely laid. I'll do that for the other side of the back. Next is to add band to the top of my outfit, and to do this I measure the waist of the front, which is 20.5. I'll measure the waist of the back as well. In this case was 11.5. So 20.5 divided by 2 is 10.25. So on the folded fabric, measure out 10.25. Mark that point. And the height of my band here will be 3 inches, which is 2 inches for the main band and 1 inch for sewing allowance. That is sewing allowance to join the upper and the lower parts together. So measure out 3 inches and we roll that out and cut it out. So for the back as well, we have 11.5. So on a folded fabric as well, I'm going to measure that out, and 3 inches height. So measure that out, cut it out, and we'll slash that into 2 for the 2 parts of the back. So this is what we have. We'll attach that to each side of the fabric. So if you want, you can put some fusible interfacing on this fabric, but I'm not adding because the structure of my fabric is thick enough for me. So I'll just stitch that to this, and also repeat the same process on the inner fabric. So for everything I'm doing on the outer fabric, I'm doing same on the inner fabric for the front and the back. So stitch that together, which is what I've done here. So now we're going to join the front and the back together for the upper part. So what I like to do is ensure that my seams are lined. So for the front and the back, ensure that the band seams are lined. So when you confirm that, just hold it down with some pins, as you can see. So do that on the 2 sides before we take to our sewing machine to join together. And you can see the 2 sides are lined. And so I'll take in my sewing allowance on both sides. I'll do the same process on the inner fabric. So like I said, everything I do on the outer, I do for the inner. So ensure they align as well. And I've joined everything together. This is what I have here. You can see all the seams align for the inside and outside of the outfit. So from this dot line now, we'll take a measurement from the zip line to this dot line. We'll take another measurement from this dot line. We can use any of the dot sides, wherever you want your slit to be. So the slit for the lower part of the outfit, wherever you want it to be, on whichever side you want it to be. So you take a measurement from that place to the 2 sides of the zip opening. And so this is a folded fabric. I'm using the full length of the fabric. Now the width is 22, which is from my first zip opening to the dot line multiplied by 2. I think I did multiply by 3 actually, not multiply by 2. So I'll ensure that that is there, and the same for the other side as well. So from that dot line to the edge of the zip multiplied by 3. So now I'm on my sewing machine and I'm going to form my gathers as I stitch. So I would leave a 1 inch space on my fabric that I'm going to gather. Leave that place unsewn, and then from that point, I'm going to start gathering my fabric to the end of the zip opening. So basically what I'm just doing is using my ends to form the gathers, which I have done here. So this same thing also I'll do on the inner fabric, but for the inner fabric, the length of this outfit is not as much as, and you can see how this opening is on that dot line. So for the other side, I'll do the same thing as well. Measure 1 inch. 1 inch is to hold the 2 sides together, so don't leave that 1 inch unsewn. Then from after point 1 inch, you can gather the rest. So these 2 points I have now, I'm going to join them together. These 2 points meet on that dot line, so join them together join them downwards to point 20. I use 20 inches to close it up. If you want it to be more open, you can reduce it to like 16 or 18, as much as you want. So this joining now, I'm going to close them together, and with that they would fall, and with that this joining will fall on the dart line, as you can see here. So this is the dart line, and this is the lower joining after the band. You can see it's on the same line as the dart line. So the same thing I did on the outside, I did on the inside, but for this inner lining I didn't make it as long as the outside because of that slit opening. So for inner, I think I just used 20 inches lining length. So now we're going to join the shoulders together, join the shoulders for the interior and exterior. So how to do this is to ensure that the necklines, join them at the neckline, so right side to right side, and make a straight stitch. So I started from that neckline, joined the two of them together, and I'm flipping it to the other side so I can also join the lining. Both of them are joined at the neck, and when I finish, you will see how neat it will make this look. You see the neat finishing it's going to give this outfit. So this is our finished shoulder. See how very neat it is. I'll do the same on the other side as well, and this is what I have on the other side as well. So now that we have done this, we would work on our zip. So to work on the zip, I'll start from my band, ensure that they align. You know, I keep talking about this, I can't emphasize this enough. You don't want one side going up and the other side going down. It doesn't make your work very neat. So first and foremost, ensure that your bands align on the two sides. So if you are taking your measurements correctly, they should fall on the same point. So secure that with pins, and do the same from the top to the end of the fabric. So do that all the way through. Connect both sides, hold them together with pins. So I started from the neck down through the band, and you can see the bands align on the two sides, so that by the time I put in my zip, the two sides are on the same level. So this is the zip I'll be using. It's a 22 inches zip. So I'll start from the neck on one side of the outfit. So measure the full length of the zip against the outfit, then leave like about 1 inch space. Mark that point. So from this 1 inch space that we have marked, we'll go in by 1 inch, which is our zip allowance, and sew all the way down. So close that all the way down, which is what I have done here, and I'll take out all the pins. So we'll leave the zip allowance open. So we stitch all the way down there. The other side is open, which is going to be for our zip. So we're going to insert our zip in between the openings. And to do this, we mark 1 inch point, which is our zip allowance. So that's what I like to do. I like to mark with my chalk first, then place my zip on the fabric and just stitch on the 1 inch line. So just ensure that you take your full 1 inch allowance that you have left. If not, you can have space at the back, which will not make your outfit well laid. So ensure that the 1 inch allowance that you have put, you take it as much as you can. Yes, take up the full 1 inch that you have added for your zip allowance. So stitch all the way down. So I'll flip this and also work on the second side of my zip. You see how neat this looks. So for the other side, you just flip the outfit and lay the zip on the center, lay it in the center, ensure that it's well laid, and just also take your 1 inch from that side and you stitch all the way. Be very mindful of your bands, ensure that they are aligned. If you have taken your measurements correctly, they will definitely fall on the same line. So this is the neck, this is the edge of my zip. So now to close up this neckline of the zip allowance, just stitch the inner and outer fabric, fold that edge, and then stitch them together like this. So fold over your lining, fold your lining over the inner, over the outer fabric, then stitch close to the zip line as much as possible. So this is what I have now. Stitch it all the way down for the 2 sides. So this is what I have left of my lining fabric. You can see where it joins with the outer fabric, so I'll stitch the lining together, and as you can see, the length of my fabric is shorter compared to the length of my outer fabric, which is what I explained earlier. So close that point to where the zip is. Now we'll work on the hem of the outfit, and for the hem of the outfit I gave a 2 inches sewing allowance, so I folded in 1 inch first and 1 inch again, and I'm going to stitch all the way around the same way. So maintain my 2 inches hem allowance by folding 1 inch in and 1 inch in again. So now we'll also close up our slit opening. Remember our slit is in the front, so fold in, we gave in 1 inch sewing allowance, so fold in half and half inch first, then half inch again, stitch all the way to the joining at the center before we make a turn. So when I get to that closure, I'll do a pause, then change the direction of my needle a bit, fold half and half again, and when we stitch to the end there, we'll turn it over again and stitch all the way down. So just after that crossover point, we'll stitch all the way down to the hem line. At this point, this is what my outfit looks like. You can see how the bands align and the zip is very neat. This is also my opening. It's very neat. My gathers are well laid. See, the interior of my outfit is so neat. The zip lines are neat. The entire fabric is neat inside and out. Next, I'm working on are the sleeves. My sleeve length is 7 inches and I folded my fabric into 4 so I can cut the 2 sleeves together. So rule that out. And next I'll measure out is the cap height. My cap height is the measurement of the bust I'm working with divided by 12, then plus 0.25 inch. For my calculation I have 3.63, so basically 3.6. Rule that out. And this fabric is folded by my armhole measurement divided by 2. So I'll draw a diagonal line from the edge of the sleeve to the armhole point. So divided by 2, 11 divided by 2 is 5.5. Mark that point, and on that marking I'll go below by ½ inch. Then draw a curve from the edge of the sleeve to the armhole point. So also on that same marking I'll go up by ½ inch as well. and join a straight line to the edge of the sleeve. That is for the back pattern. I'll show you as I cut out. So for the sleeve width, I'm using 6, then add 1 inch allowance to sew it. So from that point, I'll join to my armhole to form my sleeve. So I'll cut out this pattern and I'll show you what it looks like. So we'll cut out the front, the back first. We'll cut out the back pattern first. Then we'll open it up and cut the front. So the front is the one that has gone in by ½ inch, and the back extends out by ½ inch. So this same thing, I'll cut it on the lining as well. I'll cut this on the lining as well because I want it lined. And this is what I have here. So what I'm going to do now is join them together. So face right side to right side and sew the lining and the exterior together. So place them on each other like that, and this is what I've done here. After I place them on each other, I stitch them on the sides and I turned inside out. So this is what one of the sleeves look like at this point. So here you can see what the sleeves look like. I'll turn it inside out and this is what we have. So next we are going to do is to attach these sleeves, attach them to the main outfit. So the seam of the sleeves, match it up with the seam of the armhole, pin them together to insert your sleeves. So insert the sleeves into the armhole, pin them together and stitch round with your sewing machine. So just match it up, ensure that the seams align, secure that with a pin and do the same all the way round. So I'll do that for the 2 sleeves, and this is what our final outfit looks like. You can see how neat and nice it is inside and out. So for that armhole, you can just cover with buyer's tape. I hope you have enjoyed making this outfit with me. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and leave your comments down below. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.